Hi dear friends, and welcome to a new episode of A Journey into Thornbury's Mind. This is the last episode of chapter 1, which is all about identifying words. And actually I have received many questions from teachers about the point of this knowledge, why it is important to know this, or they think this is a kind of linguistic thing which has no direct relevance to classroom teaching. Okay, we will discuss this through a short activity. I will show you two sentences, each of which has only one mistake. Think of the mistake, what is the mistake, and why the students make this kind of mistake. Pause, think, and replay. Okay, for number 1, made a promise, not did a promise. Okay, so why the students made this kind of mistakes? Let's see. Probably the teacher, when he introduced the word promise, he introduced, or he showed the meaning and form, so show the meaning, form, and the pronunciation, and this is all. But is this enough? Of course not, because this kind of mistakes proves that this is not enough. You need to tell the students how this word is used in context, how this word is used in relation to other words, what other words collocate with it. If the teacher is not aware of collocation, if the teacher is not aware of the importance of collocation, we will find this kind of mistake. So it's important to know what collocation is and how to employ this knowledge in your class. Okay, another example of this, the importance of this knowledge. Look at the next sentence. What kind of mistake is there? Dear, spelling mistake. Why? We know that there are two words which have the same pronunciation but different spelling and different meaning too. So we have dear as an animal and dear as an opening to an email or letter. If the teacher is not aware of these homophones and he keeps this in mind while teaching these words, you'll find this kind of mistakes. So this is important to know about this. Okay, now I will show you a phrase. Try to think, if you are going to teach this phrase in an elementary or pre-elementary class, what kind of problems do you expect to have students have? Of course, we have a pronunciation problem, because this is not live concert, this is a live concert. Live music. This is the live music. So why students make this kind of mistake? Because there is another word, live. So one teacher, if you teach live, I live in Cairo or whatever, so if you teach this alone and the other one alone, you will find this kind of problems. But you may teach them together, or you say that there is another word with the same form but this has another pronunciation and another meaning, and you show the difference between this and this, so you will help students avoid this kind of problems. So your knowledge about homophones, homographs, homonyms, collocations, lexical chunks, and all these kinds of word knowledge will help you to avoid problems in your class. Okay, now we have a matching activity and then we complete our chapter. Look at this table. In the left column we have some words, and in the right column we have some words. We want to match each word with the synonym. So for example, lexis and word. So lexis is the linguistic term for word. Make guesses about the other ones and replay. Okay, so now graph. Yes, graph means the photo or the picture. Yes, graph, photograph. Phone, sound or the pronunciation. Okay, homo, the same. Homo means the same. Think of some words that you know which starts with homo, you will find that it means the same as a mnemonic for you. And super means, of course, bigger or higher. Good. Now let's start. Look at this picture. Who's that? Who's this? Yes, Salah. This? Yes, Sadio Mane. This? No, now we will not say Salah, Sadio Mane, Firmino, and Van Dijk. We will say Liverpool. So each one of these players has an identity on his own, but when they are grouped together forming a team, we think of a one meaning, a different meaning, one identity, which is Liverpool. Words also like this, they form teams. So if we look at this word, what does it mean? It has a meaning for itself, and this forwards the opposite of backward. Okay, two is the proposition showing the direction. But if we group them together, forming a team, we will find that it has only one meaning, not three different meanings, which is want or wish or hope, or like this. So we call this a lexical chunk. So when we have one or more than one word forming or making a new meaning or a single meaning, we call this a lexical chunk. Why is this important? Imagine that you are teaching the word amazing. One teacher may explain the meaning, the form, and pronunciation of the word, and this is good, but he will stop at this point. Another teacher will teach amazing, and he will teach how amazing at the same time. Then he will teach it's amazing how as a sentence frame, as a starting of a sentence, which you use while you are speaking in order to save some planning time, which contribute to your fluency. So the second teacher helps students with other expressions with the word amazing, with other lexical chunks with the word amazing, which introduces him to the community as a native-like speaker. So when we use, of course, idioms and terms and these sentence frames, it contributes to your fluency, and at the same time, it it introduces you as a native-like speaker. Okay, so this is about lexical chunks. There are a lot of other relationships between words. So for example, when we talk about make a promise, why do we say make a promise and we don't say do a promise? Although they are similar or they have similar meaning, this is a kind of love. So this word make loves the word promise, or they are friends, or they are partners, or they are couple, so they are used together. We have no reason for love. You love someone and you don't find the reason for this, so you make a promise they love each other. This is called what? Collocation. When you teach students, you need to think about not only the form and the meaning, but what words collocate with this one. Collocation. Okay, so another problem or another source of confusion and the problem in your classroom is words which are similar. So here, when you talk about the word like, so we can use it in different ways. For example, we say, like this sentence, if you look at this sentence, I like fish. Yeah, so much I like fish. Okay, so I like fish, here the word like means love. But in the second sentence, you will find this is a preposition, which means such as. So here, these words or these two words are similar in the form, they are similar in the pronunciations, but they are different in meaning. This is why they are two words, not one. If they are similar in meaning, so this is one word. They are different in meaning, but they are similar in pronunciation and the form. The same pronunciation and the same form. What is the word for the same that we had in the matching activity? Yes, homo. So homonym, and nym, this word, this short word, refers to a type of noun. So homonym, so the same noun. It's the same noun in terms of form and pronunciation, but different meaning. Okay, let's look at the second word here in these two sentences. The bold word is repeated, but is it the same word or different? Of course, different. But this shares also here live and life. So they are different in similar in the form and different in pronunciation. Similar in the form. So what do we call the form in terms of linguistic? Graph. Similar, homo. So this is a homo graph, means similar in the form but different in other features. Okay, let's go for the third one. Look at this. What kind of what is the, look at the bold word. What are they similar at? Pronunciation, and different in form and meaning. If they are similar in pronunciation, what is similar? Homo. Pronunciation, phone. So this word is a homophone. Homophone. When you teach students these words, try to teach them the pairs of words, what different meanings they have, what different pronunciation or different form. This will help students to avoid problems in pronunciation, in form, and in meaning. Okay, so this is about homonym, homograph, and homophone. Okay, so there are other ways of relationships between words. Let's take, for example, these two words. How are these two words related? Yes, one is a kind of the other. So are they in the same rank? No, of course, one is higher than the other. Okay, so food is higher than fruit. Fruit is a kind of food. And here, the word plums is part or is a kind of fruit. So here we can show this. So when we have the word higher, another word in the matching activity, what was it? Super. So the higher word is called superordinate. And the other word, or the lower word, is called hyponym. Hyponym. Okay, so what is or why is this important in classroom? When you are presenting vocabulary, you can show the meaning of words in relation to other. So you say plums is a type of fruit. So now you are helping students and you are limiting the meaning of plums to a fruit, and then you start helping them with other ways. So you can also, when you design your controlled practice, you can use this relationship to design your activity. Or when you are testing vocabulary, you can use this relationship to show or to limit the meaning to help students find the correct word or the correct answer. Finally, so what we call this relation, as we said, superordinate and hyponym. Finally, look at these two words. Yes, language and food. How are they similar in terms of meaning or form? There's no similarity at all. They are very far from each other. Can you think about a relationship or something that combine food with language? Okay, let me add some other words. Clothes, festivals, dance, customs and traditions. Yes, this is about culture. So language and food, although they are very far from each other, but they relate to the same theme, which is culture. When we talk about culture, we talk about food, language, dance, festivals, music, and these other things. So they belong to the same lexical field. They belong to the same lexical field. How can you use this in class? Okay, when you ask students to write about culture, so you start asking them, okay, write as many words as you can about culture. So now they try to think about the words. And also, when we talk about memory, which we will talk about in the next video, because the next video will be about chapter 2, will be about memory. So now the memory itself organizes or stores these words or organizes these words together. So when you have different ways of organizing vocabulary, so you help your students to memorize the words in different situations or different contexts. And you help yourself as a teacher to design a variety of activities. Sometimes you tell the students, okay, now look at the word start, think of the family of these words. So they think about start, starter, restart, like this. When you tell them, okay, now think about the word, for example, festival, think about all the words that can belong to this theme or this topic. So you have a variety of ways to do or to design activities in your classroom. So this is about chapter 2. This is the end of chapter 2, and from the next time we will start talking about memory. How can we memorize words better, or why do we forget words? I think this is very interesting and very useful because most of our learners complain that they usually forget words. If you like the video, please share it with your friends, to spread benefits for us to reach the biggest number of teachers. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do to follow the next videos, because the next chapter is about memories, very important and useful for all teachers. Thank you so much for watching, and meet you Thursday, meet you next Monday. Thank you so much.